With our safe and secure payment checkout, you choose the option to pick up in-store or have your goods delivered right to your door. It's that easy. Shop tdcgroup.com, your one-stop online store.
Shop anywhere, shop anytime, same quality you love. Now online. Shop
www.shoptdcgroup.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
A pleasant good day to you, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another presentation of Inside the News. And with us today is the inimitable, the one and only Mr. Chesley Hamilton. Good day to you, sir, and how are you?
Good morning, Quint. Good morning to the listeners at home and abroad. Good morning to you, or good evening, wherever you are in the world, listening to us on the World Wide Web. I am well. I'm giving thanks.
And I assume the family is well also.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so let's hope everything stays in good stead. Thanks for gracing our studios today, and without further delay, what do you have on your plate, on your table, for us to digest today?
Quint, it's Emancipation Weekend, first and foremost. You know, I have to definitely start out with the fact that sometime around 1833-34, there were certain proclamations which gave African in the New World freedom from forced labor. And though some had to work another 4 years in terms of reparation and compensation to the owners, and let me put it that way, to those who benefited from their free labor, it is significant that we mark this day with a holiday, and coupled it with a second one for Culturama in Nevis. It is important that we understand that the horrors of forced labor and the people who were enslaved, brutalized, criminalized, murdered, exploited just based on their characteristics and identity, up to today, have not been compensated in any way for what they contributed to the industrialization of not only the New World, but the colonial masters in Europe. So therefore, we are today a little poorer because of hundreds of years of slavery, hundreds of years of kidnapping, rape, murder, lynching. Yet we are a people that are resilient, we have survived, we continue to strive, we continue to excel, and we continue to achieve in spite of and not because of. And yes, we are still asking for justice, equal rights and justice from those who benefited and secured generational wealth. If someone gained generational wealth at your expense, is the opposite. If A equal B, B must equal A. Did they put us into generational poverty? Well, we want a reckoning, as the old people will say. You know, when your grandmother give you something to count, Quint, and she say, reckon this for me? Yeah, we want a little reckoning. And we are asking for it, we are demanding it, and we believe that economic and social justice is part of the reckoning, and we must pass that forward and let our generations to come never forget what generations before us went through, that we can be here. And we want an accounting. We want a reckoning. And we are not racist for demanding that. We are demanding equal rights and justice.
Well,
And
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people in this day and age seem to think that for us to demand what we feel is rightfully ours is rearing ahead of racism. And I'm glad that you made that statement. But do you think we'll ever be able to get that reparation?
I had a conversation with Michael Manley some years ago while in Canada at Seneca College. And Michael Manley told me, Chesley, freedom fighters never lose. It might be delayed, it might be postponed, but freedom fighters never lose. And we were talking, that was in 1989 or so. It was just after a hurricane had hit Jamaica, and Michael Manley was still in opposition at the time. He was making a tour to North America, Canada, and the US to ask the travel agencies to put Jamaica back into the itinerary, because Edward Siaga at the time had declared Jamaica a national disaster area, and Michael Manley came up with a phrase that Jamaica was paying for his linguistic extravagance, because he used words like that. Jamaica was put out of the reservation system, and the tour operators and the tourism industry was suffering. And Michael Manley took the opportunity to go on a tour to ask the tour operators to put back Jamaica into the reservation systems so that the tourism people can have work and benefit. And it demonstrated to the local population, the business class in Jamaica, that Michael Manley wasn't the socialist that they were making him out to be, but that he respect capitalism with a conscience, and therefore he was returned to office. And he said it's a privilege when your country gave you an opportunity to serve twice. But I took a little detour there, but Michael Manley is the one who told me that freedom fighters never lose. And what we are fighting for is our economic freedom, and for generations to come, that we would not be dependent and begging and going forward, where others have had generational wealth at our expense and from exploiting us. We need a reckoning, we need a balancing of the playing field. We need some of that monies that were taken from slavery, from sugarcane, on the plantations, tobacco, cotton, whatever it was that we were not paid for. We just want a reckoning and a balancing of the playing field so that we can have trusts and we can have fraternities, we could have education, we can have endowments to educate our people, to do our research, to take care, to protect our intellectual property, to make sure that we can fund our entrepreneurial spirit, our entrepreneurial endeavors, and make sure that these things continue to provide benefit for generation yet unborn. That's all we are asking.
But again, I ask the question because do you think we'll be able to get that fragmented, or should we unite? And if we unite,
I am going to say something that I hope people take on board. You don't need unanimity in order to achieve anything. You need unity of purpose. There would always be naysayers. There would always be those who oppose. There would be always those who betray. There will be always those who rat out. I mean, if Jesus Christ had 12 disciples and not only did one, quote unquote, betray him, but one also deny him and say, I don't know the man. 3 times, I think, or 2 times, some kind of times before the cock crow, a number of times.
3 times, I think.
Yeah, you know, so if Jesus Christ only had 12 and suffered, that's the Son of God, and he didn't have unanimity among those 12, I am basically saying to you that we just need unity of purpose. And the gospel will reach where it needs to go. Explain
unity of purpose, because I'm kind of.
We have to see that it is self-evident. What is your argument against what we are asking and demanding? What we are asking is not just justice. It is self-evident that we should be compensated for unpaid labor, forced unpaid labor. It was not volunteered. It was not voluntary. It was at the barrel of guns. It was that we were kidnapped. Children were taken from their mothers, put into slavery, and to get out of it, you had to buy your freedom. You had to fight for your freedom. And even in the case like Haiti, where you fought and succeeded in getting your freedom, you didn't have to turn around and pay France compensation. So I'm just simply saying to you, it is a compounded wrong. It is wrong by any measure, by any standard of justice. And those who want to bury their head in the sand and deny it and say, oh, well, why should I pay for my for people who went before me? Well, I am saying, why should you benefit from what they stole? You know, Francis Drake and all of these people, Horatio Nelson and they were pirates. You call them good thing. They were kidnapping and hijacking. They were terrorists. They did so in the name of king and country, and queen and country. So it was sanctioned by the state. They were made lord and duke. Okay? Because they stole and robbed in the name of empire, in the name of country. And all we are saying, yes, you get the benefit, you got the residual benefits, you got the multiplier effect, you got all of these things. We are now saying that we are demanding compensation. I mean, the Japanese have gotten compensation for the atrocities of being interned during World War II, for different things. The Jews have gotten compensation.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
The Jews have gotten compensation for the 6 million Jews who Hitler exterminated. What about the 100 million who died in the Middle Passage? Huh? What about them?
You have a caller. You want to take them?
Certainly.
Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Chesley. How are you doing? Good morning, Quint.
Good
Good
morning.
day.
Good morning.
Good day.
What you're saying, you're hitting some high tenor notes, and it's beautiful song, and it sounds really good like a choir. But even though you are saying, and what is true, there's always, you have to get, if you're going to make swank, you need sugar, you need water to make the combination. So we have to start somewhere.
Yes, sir.
And it is also true that none but ourselves can free our mind. And it has been also said that if you expect a ship, you must build a dock. And so the whole idea, in my mind, what you're saying is so true, but preparation is the key. The question is, how and when and where do we start preparing ourselves and our people? Where we become models to lead us and guide someone else who don't understand the direction of which we should be going. At the end of the day, someone has said to me, we should go back to Africa. But we must remember, going back to Africa don't change our attitude that give us our altitude. Our attitude towards our brothers and sisters here should be governed accordingly because we expect something better than what we have. In my mind, we have to start here and among us and prepare ourselves for the expectation of what is to come. Someone say you must prepare for the worst, but you must hope for the best. At the same time, it's not how much you're going to treat, how you're going to treat the other person on the other side, the person who don't know you. How do you treat the person who's beside you, who know you and who you know? Remember, the bad boys always sometimes locked up in the closet and sometimes in the getaway. And so it begins with us. Even though we know that we're being desperately wronged by others, we have to start dealing with our own people, educate them, prepare them, train them, and get them ready to take on the task which is to come. Because if we fail to do so, we are still in the same position from whence we came. Because we will find ourselves on a ship, we don't know how to sail, we don't know how to bail water, we don't know how to do anything. And we always will be looking for monetary funds to take us forward, even though that is very important, because any fool can make money, but it takes a wise man to spend it. I think I have said enough, Chesley. You take the floor. Quint, have a good day.
Thank
Same
you
to
for
you.
your words of wisdom. Education, education, many people would say, is the key. You need to educate, but you could also miseducate. My role is to teach you to think. If I trigger your thoughts and your thinking, then my job is over. I just want you to be able to think. And if you think that 1 and 1 is 2 or 1 and 1 is 11, you must know why you come to that conclusion. It is your understanding. When I pray for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. God, to make me wise. Okay, knowledge so that I will know, and to help me to understand so that I could teach and pass it on. So it's the prayer of Solomon. And he said, if Solomon was the wisest man that walked the earth, I want to be wise like Solomon. Solomon didn't have DNA. He didn't have DNA at his disposal. But when he needed to decide whose child it was, he then said, bring me a sword. And he was ready to cut the child in two and give half to each mother. And one mother said, no, don't cut that child in two because he's going to die. Give it to her. And that's how Solomon, with his wisdom, was able to say, the real mother doesn't want that child to die. That is the real mother. The other one who was willing to take half of a dead child, that's not a motherly love. Wisdom.
You have
One
another
must
call.
pray. One must pray to be a problem solver and not be afraid when they have problems. Yes, we'll take the other call.
Go ahead, caller.
Good morning to everybody.
Good morning, sir.
And greetings once more in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners from the sins and from hell, and the second person of the eternal Trinity. Now, first of all, I would like to say we need to become a republic and get to the British Commonwealth as quickly as possible. The sooner the better. That's number one. Number two, what I'm going to say, y'all going to disagree very much. Probably get angry. But But it goes against the Bible to say that because one's ancestors or forefathers did something wrong and evil and wicked to your ancestors or forefathers, that their descendants or you today some kind of compensation or something like that. That goes against the Bible. The Bible says the fathers are not to be punished for the sins of the children, and the children are not to be punished for the sins of the fathers. Everybody's supposed to be punished for their own sins. So to say that we are owed reparations because of what were done to our forefathers by some white people, because most white people never owned slaves. And that's another thing we fail to realize. The most white people never owned slaves. It was always the minority. But not only that. So to say that we are owed reparations today because of what happened to our forefathers by others' forefathers, that goes against the Bible. And not only that, if we're going to start with reparation and we're going to be honest and consistent, the first people who owe us reparation would be the Africans, because they're the one who, for the most part, captured our forefathers and sold them to the Europeans. So the first set of people who really owe us reparation, if we're going to go down the path, is the Africans. Not only that, if we're going to be consistent, that means not Africans or Europeans reparations, because they used to kidnap slaves from Europe, the North Africans, and cut them back to Africa. Slavery was a worldwide thing from the dawn of man's history. And so everybody would then owe everybody reparations. Even Africans will owe Africans reparations. So I disagree with this thing. But even if I was for reparations, let's say I was for it. And by the way, the Japanese who got reparations, it was those who suffered who got reparations, and they got cash reparations. But even if I was for reparations, as is argued today, I would not be for it in the form that it is argued today, where money, instead of going to individuals, the money would be going to institutions and that sort of stuff. The institutions was not enslaved. It was individuals who were enslaved. And this argument for reparation to go instead to institution is just another way to even enrich the elites more, the black elites, which in white elites going to get enriched too, because they're associated with many of these quote-unquote black institutions. You know, so if I was right, I would have been arguing that black individuals, we as individuals, should be getting the checks. So even if I was right, I still couldn't back it as it is argued today. But I'm not for it, period, based upon biblical principles. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gregory, for your input. Gregory, you're using the same argument to say why someone shouldn't be getting reparations. You're going back and say that the first Africans who sold them, or what about that? You're using the same principle to say that, well, Africans would be entitled to it. Gregory, you cannot use the same argument to say that yes, it should, and the same argument to say no, it shouldn't. Something is flawed right there. But Gregory, I'm gonna ask you some simple questions. One, by feeding people a diet of sugar and salt, and today they're suffering from chronic diseases, okay? Because you feed them cod, salt fish, or salt beef, or salt whatever, and sugar for generations, for hundreds of years, and then they're suffering certain chronic diseases. Didn't the foreparents of certain people pass on certain illnesses that today certain people of this generation need to be dealing with and solving and spending scarce resources to combat? I am simply telling you, you cannot just say, oh, and only the minority own slaves. I'm not saying all white people own slaves. I'm telling you that and I'm not saying that only individuals. A lot of these slaves were done in the name of king and country. You cannot separate the fact that the monarchies got rich supporting and sponsoring terrorism. Supporting and sponsoring terrorism. I am basically saying those financial institutions, those financial dynasties need to come clean and say, yes, we benefited and we could afford to do some social and economic justice. I'm just asking, I can't bring everybody to justice. I can't try everybody. But if I could find a nexus between you and what you benefited, I can call you to reckon. Justice is a messy business. It's a messy, messy, messy business. But the fact that I'm calling out some or a certain sector doesn't mean that I am not entitled to do so. So you want the whole thing solved. I'm not asking you, and then you are talking about institutions versus individual. You have gone to the conclusion. You're not dealing with the process. You're not even dealing with the premise that the premise is right. So it's a non-starter, Gregory. Come to the table and say fairness and justice. Your morals say that a wrong was done, our wrongs were done, and we want to correct from a moral point of view, from a biblical point of view. You can't tell me that the Bible, which you subscribe to, is saying that wrong must go unpunished. Whether the Bible says vengeance is mine, says the Lord, or it says everybody will come to a reckoning. Everybody will come to the day of judgment. By whom? Might be the difference. When? Might be the difference. But everybody should be called to account. And therefore, you can't just have the benefit, but don't want to pay the price. And I'm basically saying it is up to me to bring not only the process, but bring the argument, bring the premise, bring everything to bear on why your ill-gotten gains, your wrongful diversion of funds and capital and resources should be called to account. That is the justice we're talking about.
You have another caller, or it might be Greg again. Hello, caller.
Good morning. Just the
okay. Good day, Mr. McMahon.
Yes. It's okay, or it may sound okay, just to say you're trying to get people to think.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, if they're thinking and they think 1 and 1 equals 2, or some others thinking 1 and 1 equals 11, there are consequences to the results that each get. Okay?
But at least we could have that.
And so I'm saying that it should not just be a matter of teaching people to think. It's a matter of directing that thinking, trying to direct that thinking to the right result. Otherwise, you may end up with consequences that you just don't like.
I hear you, and I hear you loud and clear. Fire is a good tool, but it's a poor master. You understand?
Right.
Nuclear energy can solve a lot of things, but it can also destroy many things. I just have to teach you to think, and then we can deal with the morality of our decision and our thinking. We could debate that. We could debate the good and the bad. They're not always absolutes, you know. They are not always absolutes, but I don't want you to follow me line, hook, and sinker, Mr. McMahon. I don't want, if you think everything that I think, then only one of us is needed. I want to hear you challenge me, and I am going to challenge you. I may take some or all of what you are saying, or you may take some of all of it. And that is how iron sharpeneth iron. I want you to think. I want you to come with your own understanding. I want you to come with your own inspiration, because that's how we're going to move the ball along. It is important that I teach people to think, to question.
Right, to question, yes, because some opinions are downright dangerous and, should be challenged. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I understand where you're coming from now.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's not an absolute thing.
No.
The second thing is, I kind of agree with your previous caller, one of the previous callers, who said we should basically be dancing in the yard before we dance abroad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if this isn't one of those cases where you can't walk and chew gum at the same time. How would we be perceived trying to change the relationship for the better with our neighbors, our brothers and sisters far east, when we can't even do it right here in St. Kitts and Nevis, let alone the region? If you see what I mean. For example, the current debacle between St. Kitts and Nevis, I would have thought that we would have been trying to come up with a formula that not only supports the St. Kitts and Nevis as a viable entity going forward together, but would also attract, maybe even attract Anguilla to come back, certainly other places in the region to join that arrangement, because the arrangement is such that it caters for everybody's, what we call it, sovereignty and needs, or whatever they are. Some kind of arrangement we should be able to fashion that would allow that. Okay? And then with that force behind us, we can launch out into, well, the boundaries have no limits. So I would think that we shouldn't put the cart before the horse. That's one way. That's another way, I think, of putting it. And certainly to disagree with the other caller there, saying that, well, it was only some people owned slaves. It's not just about the ownership, right? Or just compensating those who were victims, obvious victims at the time, right? There were consequences to the whole system, and even though some may not have agreed with it, or they certainly benefited from it, okay? And just the same, although everybody might not be direct victims, everybody didn't die coming across the channel, there were consequences of that for a lot of black people. And so collective, this idea, I know collective punishment and collective anything is not fashionable in law.
But the one-drop principle is there, it is fact. Right, the one-drop principle, if you had one drop of blood, you were black. One drop of black blood, you were black. You couldn't say that you were 99% white.
And to further that argument, when they found that they wanted to push the color thing even further, they moved away from the one black and they came up with things like Hispanic and all those other kind of stuff. So whereas the one job principle meant that Hispanics would have been seen as black, they then morphed it, changed it into you're different, you're more leaning towards white. And the Hispanics, a lot of them bought into it, because you see Puerto Rico now wants to go back to Spain.
It's a case of divide and rule. That has been such a successful policy.
Yeah.
That has been such a successful policy throughout the ages. Divide and rule. So it's not a surprise that it's still being applied even now. Okay? but somehow we got to get to the point where the whole basis of solidarity between the different
islands,
shall we say, well, apart from islands, the races and so on, is entrenched to the point where we can see ourselves as a bigger unit, a unit that can actually bargain and make the other competing ones give concessions. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere. You know, I don't think they're going to give up. You see, this struggle right now of how, let's say, the U.S. and Europe, they shall we say, top dogs on the international scene. However they got there, they intend to keep it there and will do whatever it takes to maintain that kind of hegemony. Well, the only response to that, the only thing that unfortunately, that would seem to work, you can't appeal to their moral anything, right? It's unfortunately raw power.
So then, Mr. McMahon, for you to say that you're looking forward for us to get a unison, it doesn't seem like that would be possible then, because history has shown that they came from us, and if they would only realize and accept that fact, then it wouldn't be so hard for them to pay reparations. But rather than that, they prefer to take the stance that they are superior to us. And
well, the thing is, but Quint, you can't go back. How far back are you going in history? Because that has been the problem with that is that it creates a whole range of conflict and confusion.
But Mr. McMahon,
they will never see themselves as descendants of black. I mean, the reality is.
So then, Mr. McMahon, that is what I'm trying to say to you. Then, how then can we get a unison? How then can we come to agreement of the minds when you're not going to accept the facts and you're going to move on your own premise, but yet still you want me to do what? To acquiesce?
No. What I'm saying is, you're far more likely to convince, let's say, a Maduro that he's more black than to convince a Donald Trump that he is.
That is true.
Right. Okay, so the alliances that are formed should take account of those kinds of realities. You see,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I am hearing you loud and clear. But the more that we try to unite St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla or Montserrat and so on, that's the fight that they want us to have, because that takes the eye off of the ball. We are not speaking truth to power. We need to keep focus, laser focus on the colonial masters, no matter what the divisions are, what they're dividing. You have to stay laser focus, because when it suits them, that's what they do.
That's what they do.
And let me show you. Let me show you this. When the white folks in North America wanted to say no taxation without representation, and the Boston Tea Party, the first thing they said, Britain said, you had to compensate these people for the loss of the tea. You had to pay your taxes and you had to compensate them. You were not going to get no recognition. All right? But what? France joined with them because France had a need to see Britain, the UK, less powerful in Europe and in the world. So France needed to weaken the United Kingdom. So France began to support their efforts, the white folks' efforts in North America. Well, the Americans went and they spoke with the Canadians. The Canadians said, no, we're going to stick with the British. So the British had the Canadians, the white Canadians, coming down and helping them. So then you had the Native Americans. They were there looking on and saying, well, how this is going to help us? But they were also the blacks. And what one try to forget and forget at all times, that this fight was over the freedom of the black people in the South.
Yeah.
They would call it the American War of Independence. They would call it all kind of different things. The Civil War. They're calling it all kind of different names. It was really the war of the freedom of the black people.
And that kind of strengthens something that Mr. McMahon is saying, because they're not going to relinquish easy.
And in order for them to get a settlement and the United States to become independent, they had to throw the black people under the bus. And leave them to some extent in slavery. And even when they took the census so that the southern colonies could be given a population, they say you could only count them as three-fifths. You can't count them as equal as one. I am simply saying to you, when they need to unite to keep moving the ball ahead for themselves, they do so at your expense. Right. But we have to have, that is what I call unity of purpose. We don't need to be unity of geography. You don't need to be unified in geography. We don't need to be unified in anything other than purpose. When we have that problem of how to divvy up the dividend, that's the problem we want. We could have that problem any day down the road.
After.
Yeah.
That comes after, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I could have that problem down the road, but we must have the unity of purpose. That is key. How you come to it, whether you come to it marching around the walls of Jericho 7 times, whether you come by it by any other means or method, you have to take your thinking and focus it as you asked me to do. Focus it and focus your thinking on how to get the walls of Jericho crumbling.
So are you optimistic that with the current arrangements as they are, that we will be any way closer to getting some kind of reparations?
I have confidence in the generations to come and the generations unborn. I always say that, and people will laugh after me. Say, but you believe in them young people who going around shooting themselves and smoking weed and yabba yabba yabba? Yes. I believe in the generations to come. They're not going to accept what we accepted. I believe that the young people, the generations to come, they are not going to accept what we accepted.
I would think so too.
This
I would hope so
too. In time, eh? This is a moment in time.
Yeah.
And remember what I said about history. How far back do we go?
Man,
after a while,
it might take you another 400 years.
But
it will come.
Tend to get lost in history.
It may take another 400 years, but I do believe in what Michael Manley said to me. Okay? When Michael Manley told me that South Africa wasn't free, because that was the reference point he was telling me about apartheid. That was the question. And he said to me, Chesley, South Africa will be free. Mandela would be free. That is what Michael Manley was talking to me about. He was saying to me, freedom fighters never lose. And I've lived to see some of what he spoke to me about come to pass. And therefore, I even believe even more now what Michael Manley was saying to me. And if you think I am making it up, James E. Webb is still alive. Ask James E. Webb. It was in Seneca College in the foyer. Michael Manley met me, shook my hand. I said, I'd like to speak to you in an interview. That is after his arm handler said he's not giving no interview that night. Michael Manley shook my hand and said, have them bring you downstairs. I went downstairs. I was the only one to interview him that night. Ask James E. Webb. I am not making this up. Michael Manley said that to me since then, and I believe it up to today even more.
Okay. All right. Well. I mean, the optimism is good. You realize, of course, that whereas that arc in history was always going to point to a free South Africa, right? This current arc now, it's not just can't call it an act. There's a lot of dips in the way.
Let's talk about that. Let me talk about that, because you see, why there were people in South Africa fighting and trying to undermine. I am going to say, what were you doing? What was I doing? I was on York campus telling York University that the pension plan has to be divested from South Africa. The teachers' pension plan, okay, was the first to leave South Africa. And when that left, and then money started leaving South Africa on droves, that's when apartheid began to crumble. I am happy to say I demonstrated, I had whatever you want, demonstrations sitting on to have divestment out of South Africa, the pension fund. A lot of people don't even know that is the pension fund that owns the Maple Leafs and Maple Leaf Garden and so on. The pension fund in Canada is rich. Billions of dollars.
Right.
But when they left South Africa is when other funds start and other capitals start leaving South Africa. That's when apartheid began to crumble. I am simply saying you got to know what you did or what you're doing. I'm not asking everybody to fight war and to fight revolution. Some people could fight revolution. Some people are going to fight in the courtroom. But some people are going to divest. And some people are going to undermine. And some people are going to... Let us have that purpose.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
and once you got the purpose that this thing is wrong and bad, however you come towards it, you'll have your efforts laser focus in saying that unholy system, that unholy regime, according to Emperor Haile Selassie in the Bob Marley song War, until these things are no longer exist, we know that there is going to be whether a war of words, a war of attrition, a war of divestment, whatever kind of war there you could think about it, there will always be at war. I mean, nothing has been fired between North and South Korea in more than 50 years, but they are still at war. You understand me? Because they have not declared a truce, they have not declared the end to their war up to today. So we must say, never will we forget.
Okay, I understand that. And that story is admirable. But contrast that with the attempts to achieve, shall we say, justice for the Palestinian cause on the U.S. campuses. Right?
Well, that is why Mandela said no one was going to tell him. That is why Mandela said on what his name, that he used to have the late night show. He said to him, no one is going to tell us that we must say we must forsake Fidel Castro or we must forsake Gaddafi, because when they had their need, Fidel Castro supported apartheid, them when they were fighting apartheid. Gaddafi helped them. So I am basically saying we have to stand for right no matter who is on the side of wrong. And we have to support what is right. We can't be afraid because it is the United States or because it is Israel or because it's somebody. No, you must be able to talk truth to power. You must be able to talk truth to power. I remember in 2020, listen to me. I remember in 2020, my political party, the People's Action Movement, along with PLP and CCM, decided to hold an election during a state of emergency. And Chesley O'Neill Hamilton said it was wrong. There are people who had me to kill. But you must be able to talk truth to power no matter who. Okay? Because Labour was on the other side, I must say, is right? No. You cannot tell me that in a democracy you're holding you're holding a free and fair election when the government is at large and the opposition is locked down, and that is going to be a free and fair election. Chesley Hamilton will say no. And if you took it to court and the judge said, well, I see no evidence that it was disproportionately administered, he's missing the point. Who is administering it? One sided during an election to their benefit. And it cannot be right. Not under the sun.
And I agree that one on principle should stick to being on the right side of principle, being on the right side of history, and so on. I think where we might differ is in strategy.
Okay? But I don't want no unity of strategy. I am basically saying, come to it from all angles, and however you think is right, come with it. Bring it. Nobody got no monopoly on ideas. I don't. So however you think you could come towards it, whether by educating the next generation, whether by financing the next generation, whatever you think is right, by preaching it from the pulpits, whatever you think it is, you bring that. But at the end of the day, you must be able to speak truth to power no matter where you are. Once there is breath in your body, once God wake you up in the morning, continue to speak against the ills and the wrong and the injustices, whether they are historical, they are present, or they're going to be future. Just speak about it. I don't, people that say, Chesley, how you representing these guys who are doing this and calling and so on and saying, and all I tell people is this: if I ever find myself charged with anything, framed or not, I need my day in court. I need somebody to advocate on my behalf. The rights of those people are my rights. The right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, the right to a fair trial, the right of all of these things are my rights. And they came because people were arrested and mistreated. The right from and protection from unlawful search and seizure. Those are rights that these people have. And if they don't have those rights, if you want to take away those rights from them, you're taking them away from me too. Nothing on my face say holier than thou, and something mark on their face mark criminal to that. No, it is the rights of all of us in a free and fair, in a democratic society. We got to reasonably justify our actions in a free and fair society, and that's all we ask, that the process be right. The outcome will take care of itself.
I got you. I got you.
And what people don't understand is this: in a democracy, the only set of people that have the right to be wrong in a democracy are judges. Because if they get it wrong, I'm telling you that. Because if they ain't get it right, you still got to live in a democracy. You still got to live with the decision. So they got the right to be wrong.
You realize, you certainly have the right to be wrong, but there are some systems, at least, that if you make an error in judgment, you can correct it. You're given the opportunity to correct it.
We have a process. We have a process from magistrate to judge, from judge to judges, and then you go up to whether the CCJ or Privy Council. There's a process. But if at the end of the day you run out of options and it still ain't get it right, you have to live with that in a democracy. I mean, today we have DNA. 50 years ago we didn't have DNA. How many times they got it wrong when there was no DNA? But we had to live with it.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm simply saying, you gave them the right to be wrong.
You realize, though, that it's not, as a matter of fact, it's probably a minority, a very small minority of people who are prepared to look at things that way. They're not prepared to put in the sacrifices necessary to to be guided by principles like that.
Right.
It's so much easier.
Democracy is a work in progress. We are trying to perfect our union. We are trying to perfect our federation. We are trying to perfect our constitution. We are trying to perfect our society. It's a work in progress. But you have to constantly agitate and advocate and push the principles. I am no enemy of the state because I don't like something. I heard the Attorney General the other day talking about, when people oppose certain things, they don't like country. That is also wrong. It is also wrong.
Yeah.
Because I don't like judge-only trials and principle. I am wrong. An appointed, unelected judge. One man, one person.
Yeah, it's a stretch that your view on that being you're being castigated as an enemy of the state, so to speak, is what's wrong.
Yeah.
That's really outrageous. I mean, you would think that people in the legal profession have some sense of fairness and balance, those kinds of things. But it seems as if they're just as biased and as the rest of us.
Well, Mr. Chesley Hamilton is here, and I'm going to make a statement. You're looking for a break? Yeah, we're going to take a break. I want to take a break before, but I didn't want to. I love the way the conversation was going, but don't hang up yet, Mr. McMahon.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to say that Mr. Chesley is sitting down there, and I'm going to make a statement that might irk him a bit, because when I look at history and legal aspects and the law, I've come to a conclusion, and there are others who feel that way too, that the legal system has practiced some of the most illegal means over the years, especially if we look at slavery and a lot of the laws in inverted commas that were put in place to keep us in bondage, and then you say that is the legal system. So what do you say to that, Mr. Hamilton?
Look, the Labour spokesman has a quotation on it, Titus 2:8, which says, sound speech that cannot be condemned. That is only part of the verse. The full verse speaks to slaves obey your masters.
Yeah.
You understand? And if slave obey your masters is sound speech that cannot be condemned. I would like to hear Gregory on that. You understand? Because if you were born into slavery, that means that you must remain in slavery.
Yes.
Okay? I am simply saying at all times you have to agitate, because the laws of the country are always skewed and written to benefit a powerful few.
Yes.
And unless you then advocate to change and say, no, it must serve more of the population or more of the people. I don't want to go into arguments that people use the law and Christianity or faith and so on to justify all manner of things throughout history. Because that's not, I don't want to go back to deal with things like that at this juncture. But I'm simply saying, you must say, what am I today supposed to be doing to make sure that I give the next generation a better society than I inherited? And that's the key. The key is you must always be driven to improve the lot and pass an inheritance on to the next generation that is better than you came into.
Mr. McMahon, I want you to make a final statement on that, and then we'll take a break.
I thought that was a great summary there. Really what we're trying to do is make sure that we leave things better than we found them.
Yeah.
Right? In the final analysis. Still say that, yes, there can be different strategies, but strategy by itself probably won't work. The different strategies by themselves probably won't work. There still has to be some coordination of that strategy, of those different strategies. Otherwise, I think each strategy can easily be nullified by the resistance resistance to what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Okay. So there still has to be some meeting of the minds on the best ways to approach whoever or whatever in order to achieve the goal of what we want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll end it there.
Okay, then. We'll take a bit of a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
If you need insurance, our service is the best. Home motor insurance can give you more for less. Property insurance can save you a lot of stress. At TDC Insurance Company Limited, we care about your investment. Guarantee you peace of mind. The best team in the business. Guarantee you peace of mind. No other company will guarantee you peace of mind. Together we'll succeed and guarantee you peace of mind. TDC Insurance Company Limited, where you get more coverage for less.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
People make the world go
And welcome back. The time is approximately 10 minutes moving away from the 11 o'clock hour. Now, as the discussion was going on, there were various points that were made that were very, very good points to make different arguments in by the way of reparations. And one of those points that Chesley made was that we need to unify not so much in terms of geography, but in terms of purpose, a coming together of the mind. And that is a very, very good statement. And then there was also a point that was made in terms of the fragmentation and segregation of different views. And that was something that was elucidated on by Mr. McMahon. As that was being said, I remember this an interview I saw, a brief interview I saw with Mr. Nelson Mandela. And it goes back to the point where you, Mr. Chesley Hamilton, said that whenever it was convenient for them, they would unify. And they did so in the case of Haiti. Imagine that little island stood up against the whole world and won. And the whole world united, France, Britain, United States, Canada, all of them united, put embargoes on Haiti, segregated Haiti, made sure Haiti couldn't get food sources, imports, and that kind of stuff. So yes, you're right. History shows that when it's convenient for them, they unite. But this is an interview I'm going to play for you with Mr. Nelson Mandela when he's asked a question, and this strengthens the point that they try to use fragmentation. They try to come up with things that should divide and conquer you. So listen to this bit of an interview.
Welcome to America, Mr. Mandela. I'm Ken Edelman. Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat, who you have praised. You have told Gaddafi that you share the view and applaud him on his record of human rights and his drive for freedom and peace around the world. And you have praised Fidel Castro as a leader of human rights and said that Cuba was one of the countries that's head and shoulders above all other countries in human rights, despite the fact that documents at the United Nations and elsewhere show that Cuba is one of the worst. I was just wondering, are these your models of leaders of human rights? And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies.
You see that? Brief and to the point.
He was also asked a similar question on Ted Koppel.
Yes.
Show. And he then answered the same question, that he's not going to abandon Fidel Castro and Yasser Arafat, who were there for him during his time of struggle.
Yeah.
And no, because he has new friends. Gonna
drop
leave
his
them.
old friends.
No, he decided, no, these were my friends when I was down and out, and they're gonna be my friends now that I'm in power.
Yes.
And now that I'm in the halls that you think I should be in.
Yeah.
And he let them know that he wasn't going to be forsaking Yasser Arafat and Fidel Castro.
Now, if you were to take that and put a lot of these modern day leaders who are very accommodating and rather weak in terms of their ability to stand on firm grounds, most of them would acquiesce and say, well, I don't really associate. You understand? So the divide and conquer that they tried there with Mr. Mandela, it didn't work. We have a caller. Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Yes, hello, it's me again. Now, what I'm going to say is this. By the way, what about the good number Well, what about the descendants of the good number of black slave owners who were in the Caribbean? Are their descendants to pay reparations as well? And by the way, even in America, the Indians own slaves. What about those if you're going to be consistent? No, I did not say that Africans are to pay reparations. I did not say that. I said if I was to hold to the reparation arguments as it is argued today, then we need to start with the Africans. But I end off my call by saying, but I do not hold that position because the Bible says the children are not to be punished for the wrongs of the fathers, and the fathers are not to be punished for the wrongs of the children. So I really don't hold that argument, but I just said if I was to hold that argument, the right thing would be to start with the Africans as to who is supposed to be paying reparation. Biblically, no one has the right to be wrong. And really and truly, the only true constitution and the law for our lands, nations, and so on is the Bible only, and nothing else. All others are sinful, man-made usurpation that are demonic in origin. So that is what I basically wanted to say. Because I stand with the Bible that the fathers are not to be punished for the wrongs of the children, and vice versa as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Gregory. Every top got to sit on its own bottom. Every man got to stand on their own 2 feet in a judgment day. And I totally agree with you that, everybody got to stand their own judgment. The issue is, I am not standing in judgment either of the fathers of anyone or the children of anyone. I am taking an assault and an attack on long-standing traditions and institutions that continue to benefit even today under the guise of a new world order. And when they stand up and try to be holier than thou, I have to call them to account. If I can't talk truth to power, then I don't exist. There's one powerful woman in this world called my mother. And she was a very powerful woman in her house. And you had to be careful what you said when you spoke to her, because you could get hit with anything at any time, including a backhand slap. So I learned early o'clock to put my head on the side and talk to my teeth and say to her whatever I needed to say. Because if I think she said something that I don't agree with, it isn't the fact that I could say it, it's how I'm going to say it. She said, listen to me, don't go to school and get in any fight because she can't fight. So don't come home, come tell me you're in any fight. So when somebody hit me in school and I hit them back, I did something, and they go up to complain. And then she come and say, Chesley, I told you not to fight in school, but you said, Mommy, you ain't gonna come help me, so I had to help myself. It was things like that. I learned to debate because I had to debate my mother, which was the law and the rule in the house. And therefore, if I could speak respectfully back to my mother, then I ain't afraid of soul in this world. I always say, my mother used to say, she would take a machete to me and cut off my foot and put me in the corner to sit down and look after me for the rest of her life. And I used to believe her. That's the kind of fear she had inside of me. You understand? That's the kind of fear the woman small, Quint. I was little woman,
Yeah.
But the fear of God that she put inside of you had to behave yourself.
I'm glad you used that as an example with your mother. I remember speaking one time to my younger daughter, and I could see as I was speaking to her that by the way her eyebrows were crinkled and so forth, that she wanted to say something. But me being her father, she was kind of scared to say it. So I looked at her and I said, Ebony, let me tell you something. I'm your father and I know you respect me. But if you have something to say it to me. Because if you can say it to me, your father, who you respect, and to some extent kind of have a bit of a fear of, then you won't be afraid to say it to anyone else. And she's a grown woman today, and I would tell you, she doesn't hold back what she feels.
Amen.
Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good morning to you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, great discussion. First of all, yesterday being Emancipation Day, we had a rally in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Continue.
I want to say special greetings, blessings, best wishes to my uncle, Livingston Sergeant, and my cousin, Lofton Sergeant, who were two survivors under Christina disaster from my family. And I also extend those blessings to the rest survivors and RIP to the ones that perish. We're talking about reparations and a lot of topics, like Quint said, a lot of topics, especially when Matt Mahon was on, a lot of topics he threw at us this morning. Sometimes you don't even know where to start. In the Federation, St. Kitts and Nevis, Finn Islands, the fair share situation is back on the table again. It's been widespread discussions this week, last couple of days about that. And we go straight to the Constitution. And Ches Mohammedan in the studio being a legal person, the question I want to ask him is, if the Constitution spells out a revenue sharing supposed to take place between these two islands, right? Why are we still debating this issue? Why is still a conflict between these two islands? The Constitution being the supreme law of the land. If any one of these politicians move contrary to what the Constitution spells out, aren't these guys breaking their oaths and breaking the law? That's my first question. And then he can contribute in terms of his comments and contributions towards the whole issue of fair share. Because a lot of us, we don't have the total history, but we got some clips here and there this week. Let me get to like the trade situation. The Prime Minister is trying to get trade going with Nigeria, but do we have a real framework set up for trade between St. Kitts and Nevis? Like someone said before, we got to dance a yard before we could dance a quad. It's all good. We're trying to connect the Caribbean region to Africa. We've seen the Prime Minister make some trips over to Nigeria. Now, let me just put a quick plug in for Ghana as well, because I got some ties to Ghana right now, and I made some investment there. And I'm doing some trading with Ghana as well from the United States here where I'm at. And we just want to see the best for St. Kitts and Nevis going forward, man. And a lot of issues persist. You know, I left the Federation in 1985. Back then, we were still talking, the disadvantaged treatment by Nevis on the Nevis side, that we would claim that it seems like we're getting like inferior treatment from the federal side. And how do we get these things solved, man? Where's the solution to these issues? And maybe kind of leave it there for now, man. Okay, let me go forward. Quinn, give me a couple more minutes. Let me go forward.
Well, it's not me. It's, hello, caller. It's not me who's going to give you time. It's Mr. Chesley Hamilton. It's his show.
Go ahead.
Okay, Chesley, let me just go back to the conversation you all was talking about slavery and all of that, right? It just clicked in my mind, really. A lot of things I was talking about. Me personally, of whatever age I am, I don't agree with the thought that some people are saying that blacks sold blacks into slavery, right? What happened to the fact that the Europeans came with these superior weapons and we were subdued? Just like we're seeing today, the superpowers are moving like they're bullies around the world.
Let me bring the conversation forward. I hear you, and I'm glad you endorsed in certain things that went for. But I want to answer something that you brought to the table, Let me show you something, because I'm going to combine it with something that Mr. McMahon said. Listen to this.
Yes, and I'm happy
Christina,
to that.
Christina,
I'm listening.
Christina. Hundreds died on Christina. Okay?
You're going where I would want to go.
Tens of people died on Christina. Scores. Were any family compensated?
No.
Were there any the insurance on the vessel? And did the government receive any compensation for the vessel? Were any money paid out? So let's talk about reckoning and justice and bring things home. I know people who grew up without their parents because their parents died on it. And they were traumatized. They didn't even get psychological treatment. Okay? So when we're talking, yeah, let me deal with what we could deal with. We spend billions on the passport and fair share. Okay? And baby prison. We collected a lot of money. We did all manner of things. The people who lost their loved ones and Christina, did we say we're going to set up something that they and our future generation can at least even get some counseling? Many him say get some money. That because the parents passed, we are going to say that the postgraduate education would be paid for. Did we say something like that? As a government, as a people? It was not private. Was it a private, Christina was privately owned or government owned? You see what I'm saying to you?
No.
I am just simply showing you. We don't think about others. We don't think about justice. When you think about justice, you will always question these kind of things. Because it's not about me. It's not about what Chesley going to get. It's not about who going to receive it. If you believe in justice, you will see injustice wherever it raises its ugly head.
Yeah.
And that is all I'm saying to you. The people who perished on Christina, those families, what have we done as a country, as a nation?
We haven't even given them a memorial here.
In St. Kitts.
Yeah.
There is one in Nevis, but what have we done in St. Kitts? And yet, all spade a spade. It happened under a Labour administration. So the Labour administration, successive Labour administrations will like you to forget it. Chesley gonna call a spade a spade.
When I'm able to talk, man, please.
Chesley is gonna call a spade a spade. I'm not, let me just say, I'm not afraid to say these things. Tell Jew he had an opportunity to put something right. When he going around and talking about economic justice and small island state and environmental justice and so on, that is something that is right here. That is a cancer. It might look like a little mole on your skin right now. But take a little thing, a little biopsy, and see if it is cancerous or not.
Chesley, he wants to make a...
Go ahead, please.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so, I'm so happy that you try to pull those together because I have those same thoughts, right? I'm going to totally agree with what you just said, right? And being that you bring the two issues together, right? What do they call that? Reckoning? Reconciliation? The Christina disaster, like you said, the government of the day, it doesn't seem like they actually took responsibility yet.
Sorry.
We need to get that from them and an apology as well. And in the United States, I know like they have situations they set up where when you're children and you lose any of your parents, you will be taken care of until you become an adult. And we see that the Christina went down and a lot of children were left parentless, or whatever. And up to this day, there was no money paid out to these people. We didn't have a compassionate empathetic government of the day. Because otherwise, they wouldn't look in that direction. And like you said, everything is not all about money. Also, in terms of counseling with the trauma part of it, and we couple it with the compensation, and that would have been a good look for those people. And we fast forward to today, we need to find a way to get one of these governments to reconcile with these people. Whatever remaining survivors are here today, the numbers have dwindled down. So they will probably be able to come to, like, they'll be able to probably maybe help them out easier now, or whatever arrangement they can make. But going to the reparation side now, we talking about reparations. A disaster.
You broke up. You broke up a bit there. You're breaking up now. Hold a while. There's another caller. Hello, caller.
Let me just make my point, and then I'll get off and listen.
Okay, go ahead.
Now?
Yeah, go ahead.
We're talking about reparations for slavery, right? And we don't want to talk about reparations.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up real bad.
You break up again. You start breaking up again.
Yeah. Take the other caller.
Yeah.
You can call her.
You can call back. Hello, caller.
Yes. Good morning, Brother Quint. Good morning, Honorable Hamilton. I have you honorable because you are honorable. And good morning to all the listeners. My name is Winston. Welcome once again. I listened a part of the conversation. And going back in the past until today, there are unsolved, no restoration to things that happened. And as a government, using the example of Christina situation, whether it's opposition government or the existing government, I think that was something that the nation should have empathy to have some kind of compensation to the survivors of those who were lost on the Christina, even up to today. But you see, the thing with government, they all focus on themselves and their agenda, and they leave all these things behind. And there are things government has to look back at, okay? Because it is demon proper. I personally think the survivors of Christina today should be given some kind of compensation. Especially, we had a program, the CBI, that had, and I believe we still have so much money. It just hidden away, it's just tucked away, waiting for the right time. We are all who are in eyes of that. They're just waiting to grab without a trace. But for the new administration coming, should I get a chance, I will look back in the past. And Christina, it would not be forgotten. I will make sure the Christina survivors get compensation and other things. Even to unsolved murders, they are worthy of looking back at. But the government today, they are nothing but selfish and for themselves. And one thing I must say to the people of the Federation of St. Kitts, don't be fooled by new projects or projects that were supposed to be started in the early will be started. Do not be bought. Do not be foolish. Once bitten, twice shy. I will hold it there.
Okay. Hello. We have another caller. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for letting me back on.
Oh, you're back.
Okay. I was cutting in and out there. The last point that I wanted to make is that survivors of the Christina disaster, right, who's left now, in my opinion, if we can't bring this thing to some type of what I call a settlement, like to get this solved, to get past this whole Christina disaster thing, if the government of the day or the governments do not come forward and try to do something for these people, me personally, I feel like all of the rest survivors that's out there today need to come together and just put a class action suit against whichever government holds responsibility, whether it's the government today or what. We need to get these things solved and move past this at this time. we need to bring a class action suit against the government or governments. And lastly, when we're talking about reparations, right, and we're independent on paper, don't seem to be independent otherwise. We probably need to move past this state and go republic so we can change, who's our head of state. Because when we're talking about reparations, right, I'm going to point to the Governor General, right? How could we have a person put in that position, Governor General, but that person is not representing the state? We need to have that person as the Governor General. Well, my theory is that the Governor General that we have in place, right, when we're talking about reparations, then the Governor General would have been the head person to charge, to lead the charge for reparations. And then what happened is, individually for St. Kitts and Nevis, we could have gone after our reparations on our own. And then that Governor General, like I said, that person in that position would have been the person to represent the state and represent us to go after reparations. And I'll leave it there for now. Thanks a lot.
I mean, when you have some 233 persons perish in a disaster in St. Kitts and Nevis, that is big, that is significant, and any disaster that caused 233 persons to perish is huge and must be traumatic on the psyche of a Twin Island nation, federation, state, whatever it is. And there's some things we just can't bury. There's just some things we just can't leave and say we just move on. We need to have, yes, again, the word, a reckoning to deal with things like this. And this is how we mature as a society. This is how we mature as a nation. And therefore, I want these things. You must be able to tie the present with the past and speak to the future. That is what you call visionary leadership. Government feel like they're just there to manage and pass time. No. Government must lead. If you're given the opportunity to handle the public purse, the collective will, you have to lead. Visionary leadership. And you have to correct sometimes historical wrongs. Put things right. And say never again.
Let's take a bit of a commercial break right about now, and we'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects or sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Building supplies, electrical supplies, furniture appliances, carpets and tiles. It's the company where you can get it all. All at TDC, home and building depot. From lawn and garden, the TVs and stereos. All at TDC, home and building depot. Come on down, get what you're looking for. It's all at TDC, home and building depot. People make the world go round.
And welcome back. The time is 11:40 or 20 minutes moving up to the 12 o'clock hour. Don't forget at 12 o'clock noon, it's the WinFM headline news. Back to you, Mr. Chesley Hamilton.
Quinta, I've been using a phrase, the unity of purpose. It's not a phrase, it's not mine. You know, it comes from the preamble of our Constitution.
Well, you just showed me that there. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not too affair with the Constitution, you know, because like I was arguing with someone recently that because they was arguing this point that St. Kitts doesn't have a local government and Nevis have a local government and all this kind of and trying to find excuses. And I said, look, I really don't give a heck about the Constitution, because you can have a million Constitution if you don't have people with morals and conviction of purpose, as you stated there. No Constitution is going to work. They're going to always find some excuses.
And a lot of people misunderstand the Constitution as well. There's a balance in our Constitution which people fail to acquaint themselves with.
Yeah.
The balance in our Constitution is not one of equality. And you're going to say, really? Yeah. Equality does not always bring you justice. And then you're going to laugh when I say something like that. You cannot ask the man with feet to walk up the steps of WinFM and ask the man with no feet to walk up the steps.
Yeah.
That is to say, boy, two are you equal?
Yeah.
And throwing yourself up the steps.
Yeah.
No. That is why you need to build escalator. That's why you need to build ramp.
Yes.
You have to accommodate. And therefore, the balance struck in the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution is one of equity.
That's it.
Not equality.
Yes.
You understand? And therefore, you have a minority population of 10,000 people in Nevis.
Yes.
And a population, let's say, of 30 or 40,000 people in St. Kitts.
Yeah.
How do you find a balance
between
with to justify a union that can work, rather than just have the minority at the tyranny of the majority?
Yes.
You don't want that the majority rules in everything, and therefore the minority is oppressed within the Constitution. So you have to find some equitable things. And one of those things is to carve out a space and say, within this space, the Nevis Island Administration has autonomy.
That's it. Simply that.
That is why it has a local economy, a local autonomy to do certain things for the local people, for the minority within the polity.
Yeah.
And recognize that. And therefore, that is why the balance struck is a 2/3, 1/3 relationship.
Yes.
That if you don't have 2/3 majority, you can't change certain fundamental clauses.
Yes.
Because in order to get that 2/3, Nevis must be a part of the decision.
Must be a part of the decision.
And that is the balance struck within the Constitution.
Well,
it is a great document.
You put it perfectly.
We are failing to see.
You put it perfectly.
The wisdom.
Yes.
Because we are thinking, oh, if Nevis got this, we must get this.
No.
That is to look at it poorly. That is to look at it bad.
Look at it bad, man.
It is not about that. It is about finding a harmonious balance for the protection of the minority from the tyranny of the majority.
That's it.
And it is not unique. I mean, with the Constitution, it's unique. It is not unique. When we talk about individual rights and freedoms, that is the same balance we have. Protecting the minority, the individual, from the tyranny of the state.
Yes.
Because if the collective had all the rights, then you won't have no individual rights. So Nevis has what is like the protection of individual rights, but it is for Nevis within the Constitution, which St. Kitts and Nevis.
That's it.
It's a fundamental principle. Once you understand the fundamental balance found within that Constitution, you will praise the document.
That's it. Most definitely.
That is not to say that it is not a work that needs perfecting
no.
and evolving
over time
and amendments and so on.
Yeah.
Because yes, There is a need for review. There's a need for tinkering. There's a need for dealing with, the Brian clause and the other areas of it. The finance.
Yes.
And the money sharing. I'm going to give you an anecdote to show you.
Before you do that, we have a caller who has
Okay.
been waiting patiently.
Go ahead, let the caller come.
Go ahead, caller.
Cheslin,
Hello?
you said you would like me to deal with a matter which I just remembered.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. You asked, you said, let Gregory address the issue with slave obey your masters.
Yes.
According to the Bible.
Mhm.
Yeah, just remembered it after I hanged up.
Yes.
Now, since I called in a number of times, I'm going to want to make this as short as possible.
Yes.
Let me say this. That is a very, very good, excellent advice coming from the Bible. Why have I said that? Where God can't be wrong. That's number one. Number two, being obedient to your master. And by the way, it does not mean being obedient to your master in things contrary to the Bible, because that is sinful and that is forbidden. We are not to be disobeying the Bible, no matter the circumstances, so it doesn't mean that. Otherwise than that, being obedient to your slave master, make your slave master trust you. That sort of stuff. No, the Bible also said to Christians, if you get an opportunity to come out of that slavery, come out of it. Come out of it. So in other words, putting everything together, you being obedient to the Bible, make your master trust you and that sort of stuff. It make it easier for you to escape, to plan a successful rebellion, that sort of stuff, if those opportunities come to you to get out of your slavery. Now, all the great slave who fought against slavery, including those who have slaves to escape slavery, be it Sojourner of Truth, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, you name them all. There was a period of time where they was very obedient to the slave master. And when they got the opportunity to come out of slavery, because the master's guards were down, it made it easier for them to successfully do that. And not only that, but to help others escape from slavery. You see, this is the part that people ain't watching. Because the Bible tells you, once you get the opportunity to come out and take advantage, and not only that, the Bible also tells you, if a slave escape his master, do not return him to his master. So there is more to the issue than what is being said. And it's very, very sensible and excellent advice. Even those in Haiti who rebelled, there was not rebellious from day one, they would have done that long time. They buried that time until when they got the opportunity to rebel, which made the rebellious even more successful because the slave masters, guards, and so were down.
Gregory?
These are things we got to look for.
Gregory?
But hello?
Go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I'm going to say this lastly quickly. The only true constitution of all lands, countries, you name them all, is the Bible. Everything else are satanic, man-made usurper of the Bible being the only true constitution and the true supreme law of all lands all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Gregory, for your point of view and your opinion. And that is what democracy is about.
That is what democracy is about.
I may not have to agree with Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you understand? But whether you move it from master slave to master servant to employer employee to wage slave and wages, you could evolve the nomenclature.
Yeah.
You could evolve the wording. You understand? And bring it right up to where you're working without pay to working for a wage, and you become a wage slave and so on. I could evolve the language and the nomenclature right up to present day.
Yes.
All I'm going to say to you, Gregory, is that I'm not debating slavery and its merits right now. I'm just was trying to tell you, how do you deal with compensation, reparation, and reckoning of wrongs and historical wrongs in today's present time and for the future. I am talking about justice.
Yeah.
And that is what I was trying to
You have a
bring to
caller.
Yeah.
Caller, go ahead.
Yeah, good day.
Go ahead.
Let me ask a question first. When the Christina disaster happened, wasn't England the direct head of state then?
Continue.
I am thinking that they were responsible and should have been responsible for any form of reparation. But let me say this. We walk around here like we're free, like everything is good. And all of us talking a foreign language doesn't understand that when a people cannot speak a language that identifies with them, they are an oppressed, colonized, as Marcus Garvey said, a tree without root. How can you look in the mirror? The image in the mirror can only talk a language or the language of the oppressor, the language of the master, including the religion, are gone short. And if the people want to know how free they are, they must look also at the evidence which is real. Look at the bleaching and look at the hair. It's evidence of the trauma that we're still going through. We must begin to repair. Reparation is to repair. We don't have to wait. We can start. Chesney and all the big people, them, cannot be proud of speaking only your slave master's language. Where is our language? We have none. We are a colonized. We are still in slavery. We ain't move no further, whether it's independent or republic or whatever. It's neocolonialism, it's imperialism. They are still in charge. And until we begin, the wise man say when oppression becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. I'm saying we must resist and begin to have some self-respect. Not just St. Kitts, but the entire Caribbean. We are a black people. We are African people, no matter what we say. The only people in the world look like us is not the Chinaman. And I say it many times. I say this. An Inca Indian look at me after we don't talk for hours. Ask me my language. When I did not have one, he looked at me and said to me, Rastaman, what happened to my people? The same thing happened to your people. You're a British colony because you don't look like no Englishman to me. We must begin to rebuild the damage that was done. We do not have to wait for money and reparation is not just money. Our religion, our language, we worship, we talk our master's language. We worship our master's God. And in every way we have adapted the cultures they impose on us. Like you man them take off their clothes and walking up in the street. Bless.
Okay, thank you for your thing. And that is why you need diverse opinion.
Yes.
You know, one does not have to agree. One does not have to get into victim blaming. To call me the big man like Chesley and them mean that you putting me a part of the oppressed class.
Yeah.
And the oppressors. That is called victim blaming. I am not a part of the big man oppressing class. I am just a poor, humble, black, B-A-S-T-A-R-D bastard from Keon. Yeah, bastard is a term.
Yeah.
It's a legal term. Mean you were born out of wedlock.
Yes.
Okay? So don't think I'm trying to use something that is bad and wrong. I am basically saying that's who I am.
Yes.
But I'm proud that I didn't use no crutches to stop me from trying to advance myself and to try to liberate my mind from mental slavery. and therefore can speak truth to power no matter where I am, whether I'm in the halls of power in Canada, Trinidad, St. Kitts, Nevis, or anywhere else. Okay? I will speak my truth. It might not be the truth. It might not be the only truth. It might not be all of the truth because people have other versions. There's the King James version, there's the Maccabee version. There are all kind of different versions of the truth. Okay? But based on my reading and my understanding and my comprehension, I will speak my truth.
Yeah.
And that is all I ask anyone to do, to liberate themselves and then speak truth to power. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that what the last caller was speaking about in terms of a culture of a people and a people who has adopted everything from everyone else and seem to be ashamed to say Africa.
One can liberate themselves from mental slavery. I mean, the carnival and the liberating of the flesh and all of these kind of things. This is street theater. You could do it. You could do it wherever you want. You go into a ballet, and you see people dancing to a ballet, and oh my, it looks so good and so prestige and so this and that. But if you have street ballet where people walking up and gyrating in the street, oh, it's so vulgar and bad. Give me a break, please.
Well, it depends, Chesley, because like I said, I created an example of some carnival that took place recently, and a troop was coming down on West Independence Square Street, and they were, doing their walking up and man behind man. I don't have a problem with that. But then this young lady decided to go down on the ground and trying to assimilate, something. Yeah. And her own other members of the troop came and tapped her on her shoulder and tell her, get up. No, don't do that. So that is what I'm speaking about. You don't want to push it to the point where, like I saw a woman and a man between a trailer, and the only thing that wasn't the assimilation of sex, that wasn't like the real act of sex, was that they had their clothes on.
Amen. I am simply saying to you, theater and art and fine arts and these sort of things are things that push the extremes of art and creativity and so on, and whether it's in the movie or on film or in the street theater, or you go into the Carnegie Halls and the different places on Broadway. There are different avenues and venues where you display these things at given time. They are licensed to do so. And therefore, don't be so critical of one without being critical of the other. I'm just simply telling you to bring it all. Stop the victim blaming. Stop the self-mutilation.
Well,
and self-deprivation.
With all due respect, Mr. Chesley, I'm going to disagree with you on that, because I feel there's a limit to what you should do. For instance, now we look at Brazil and we see where they just have some sprinkled dust on their private parts, and other than that, they're virtually naked.
Body paint and all sort of things. I am simply saying to you, they're going to be different tolerance levels. They're going to be different things. They're going to judge themselves, and we're going to judge them.
Yes.
But I just want you to understand that there are different aspects of this. We're going to say, holy cow, when we have street theater, whether it's carnival in Trinidad, in St. Kitts, in Brazil, and whatever. I mean, you go to Mardi Gras, where you throw the beads and you flash and all sort of things. Nobody criticize when you go to a ballet and you see people dressed in these skin-fitting things and this little piece of whatever, and they're doing the pirouettes.
Yes.
Right? Nobody criticize that because that's high fine art. Mm-hmm. And I'm just basically saying that's hypocrisy. If you're going to criticize them all.
Well, I kind of hear what you're saying, but I still don't completely agree with what you're saying.
If you're going to criticize,
because
bring the same level, take the same boxes
And if you tick the same boxes, you're going to realize you're ticking it about the white high society fine arts, and you're ticking it about the black society street theater too.
When it comes to ballet, do you know ballet came from us, from Africa?
And I'm saying to you, where they came
because
from us
because they're
not.
trying that's another
the
thing they
dress
stole.
and the costumes are telling me, giving me the same images. They are communicating the same things to Chesley.
Not to me.
Whether it's a skimpy
Not
white
not-
woman who you're lifting up and twirling,
Yes.
and she's doing cartwheels and flips,
Yeah.
or it's somebody with string and beads doing the same acrobatics in the street.
I don't
But
have-
Chesley,
I don't have-
if I'm not going to watch one, I'm not going to watch it.
I don't have a problem with the acrobatics because you might say that's athletics and that kind of stuff, but I have a problem with when you want to assimilate sex. When I see them doing the ballet, I don't see them trying to assimilate the body movements and, and between the leg and the gyration and no. So I agree with you to some extent, but I'm saying that not because I'm a black person, I'm going to give my black people a get-go on what the brother said. And no, I completely disagree with that because it goes further, because when we see those people out there on the street in Brazil and whatever with their splatter dust, they're also behind the scenes part where they go and they actually have actual sex. I'm saying at what point do you stop it from getting there?
I am hearing you. I am also telling you, if I am to pull the curtain back from Broadway or from Carnegie Hall, I'm going to find the same thing. Right? So when you're talking about the arts and the fine arts, if we're going to be critical, let's be thoroughly critical. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you what is right and what is wrong.
Here's where I'm going to agree with you. When it comes to Broadway and cinema and that kind of stuff, we see it. We see the people acting and then you see the sex. I don't agree with that either. So yes, I agree with you to that extent, but I don't put ballet in the same vein as down on the street and you're on your back between a trailer and a cart and a man is pelting waist and body slamming and sweat. And the only thing is you don't have a clothes on and we don't have actual penetration. That's the only thing, and I have a problem with it.
The young man who talked to me about, who gave his contribution about the language.
Yes.
Right? Whether you speak English, French, Swahili, or music, or rhythm, or drumming, or whatever language you choose to communicate in, whatever tool you're going to use, the fact that somebody invented a sword, and you take the sword and whip them with it, or somebody brought gun and gunpowder, and then you take, doesn't mean that you can't use the same gun and ammunition to win your war. So if I'm going to use the English language coming off my tongue to decolonize whoever need decolonizing, doesn't mean that I shouldn't. Don't blame the victim again. The fact that I only speak 1.5 language.
Again,
is not my fault. You're blaming the victim.
Again, I hear what you're saying, but what he's saying is that he's taking it a bit further. He's saying we are now in a position where we can learn a language because you can go on Google. I go on Google. I've got Japanese on my thing. I've got 1 or 2 African language. I've got French, German. So what he's saying is, now that the opportunity is there for you to do something, why aren't you making use of it? That is what he's saying.
I'm all there. I'm all there, and it must not just be European languages that are taught in our schools. We're teaching music, we're teaching the pan, we're teaching drumming, we're teaching all manner of different means of communication.
Yeah.
And that is great. And that is why I'm simply saying to you, I have confidence in the future.
I too have. I agree with you on that 100%. I have confidence in the future because, look, all that has happened is that a lot of our young people have not been subjected to the knowledge, and that is why you're here and I'm here, and we're trying to enlighten them. But we see across places across the earth where black, white, yellow, whatever, young people aren't taking the nonsense as before. So I agree with you on that.
I know it's time for you to go to the news.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take up any more time. I want to thank the callers. I want to thank Mr. McMahon and as
The
I
other
said,
callers.
Mr. McMahon, I'm trying to get you to come into the studio so that you can be here as in-house guest
That'll be good.
to help us and move the dialogue along. And feel free. It's an open invitation for you. And I'm pleading.
And Mr.
asking
McMahon,
you-
I second that. I second that. Yes.
You know, so I want to let you go to the news. Have a happy Emancipation Weekend, people, Culturama Weekend, Carnival Weekend, whichever weekend you want to celebrate and have. Please feel free to participate. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. May God continue to bless you, and may He continue to give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as you go about your business.
Okay. Do take care, and thank you for coming. And don't forget the next 2 weeks. Hopefully, once you're in good health.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
You found the sound. 98.9 Win FM.